welcome to the very last episode in season 1 of the Deep Dive podcast with myself, Pamela Walsh, and the lovely
Sian Horn. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is strange, isn't it? I suppose when we started this, it was all about our love for a podcast that got this all started. Then the book arrived and we said we must talk about it. So yeah, it's weird to be speaking, I suppose, reflecting on it now. But how was your week, Pam?
My week was good. It was my birthday. I am officially in my very last year of my 30s. I love birthdays. You know, people hate birthday. I make such a deal about my birthday. My husband's like, "Oh my God, will you just get over it? Like, it's just a day." But I'm like, no, I get a birthday weekend. I get a birthday week. I'm like, May is my birthday month. I'm Brilliant. A middle child. Like, I think it was the only time I got attention.
Yeah. So, and where'd you go?
Do you know what we did? We went to we had a voucher for the Metropole. We so stayed in the Metropole for the night. Smalley went to my sister's house, and my husband got tickets to Club 30 in Cypress Avenue. Have you heard of it?
Oh my God! Hello. I tried to get tickets because I had girlfriends down for the weekend, and they sold out so quickly.
Oh my God! It was such great crack.
Yeah, well, actually, then my friends pointed out that we needed Club 50 and not Club 30. But I think it's a great idea. I want to do one. I want to DJ one. And I think it's a great idea. So it's who doesn't love day drinking?
Oh, it was like literally, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's basically a nightclub in Cypress Avenue, but it starts at 6 and it ends at 10, and I mean it ends at 10 and you're out the door. But we went in about 7:30 because with a few drinks you have to kind of pre-game beforehand because you can't just go straight into that sober. But I was in bed at 11:15 and I had been clubbing and everything. Yeah. It was my idea of heaven, like.
Well, it's my idea of heaven. However, I would like a lunchtime one.
It's too late for you still. But it was, the music in there was like real, just the bangers from the 90s and the noughties, you know what I mean? Like, to be fair now, it's a good set list to create because there's such good music from that time. That was really the era of dance music, but it was just banger after banger. Everyone was just, the dance floor was mobbed. It was like, just, I haven't been in a nightclub in about 7 years. It was great. It was really great crack, and I got a full night's sleep. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's like a dream. Yeah, that sounds really good. Fair play. Yeah, I definitely want to organise. I'm actually next Friday. I'm going to, and it's a lunchtime disco.
Where?
It's up in Dublin. It's a work equal event, but that's what they do. They do a lunchtime disco.
I'm like, you bring who, I don't know, going out and starting dancing at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's for your early 20s and it needs to stay there, yes. You know, not for me anymore.
Yeah, I'd love to say it's not for me. However, my girlfriends came down at the weekend. And so if anybody did see us very drunkenly get into taxis at 1 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings, then I apologise. So I can't even say anything. All I know is though I'm not built for that anymore.
No.
And it will take me a whole week to get over it.
It does, because it's like, it takes me days to recover. Like, I'm just not, even if I'm not even drinking, just the tiredness alone, it's just, I can't. I'm floored for about 3 or 4 days. Like Wednesday afternoon, you know, I might kind of start coming around then, but no, I'm good now today. I'm really busy this week. I worked a little bit yesterday for I have had 2 meetings in the last 2 weeks with 2 new clients. One now it's a big project, so I'm doing it with 2 other consultants that I work with, so we're sending out a proposal for that at the end of the week. And another guy yesterday, he's launching a new business, so I'm going to kind of project manage him and his launch, you know, to kind of keep him on track and get everything up and going. So lovely conversation with him yesterday. Just met somebody for coffee on a bank holiday because it was that or my VAT return, so I had to work, so I chose that. Yes. He was like, "Why are you working on a bank holiday?" I was like, "You're much more appealing than my VAT return."
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose, look, let's have a little chat. I suppose, on a whole, what did you think about the book?
I thought it was a very good book. I did, in general. I think I like his writing style. He kind of brings.
Do you think he wrote it?
Oh, well, no, you know, okay. I like the way the style the book was wrote in.
Yeah.
It's not overly complicated. I don't think, people get a bit intimidated by these business books, and they think they have to have these business minds and, business lingo. It's not like that. I think anybody could pick it up and get something from it. It's very relatable. It's communicated in a kind of a simple and clear way. I think that anybody at any stage of business could pick up. If you're just newly starting out and you've never worked for yourself before, I think it will help. I like that he brings the whole life element into it, there's a lot in it, I think it is good. I think it's definitely worth a read for people. Maybe don't have to go into it in the level of detail that we've gone into it. You might not like him anymore. But no, genuinely, I would recommend the book, and I would tell somebody to that it would help them. It's something that you could kind of tip back in and out of every so often,
Yeah, I think for me, the book put me off him halfway through, but I think that had a lot to do with seeing him speak live. I
agree. Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the live at all. I think I got much more from the book than I ever did from watching him live. I certainly wouldn't go and see him again live. It wouldn't, not unless it was free. But yeah, no. But I'm back listening to him, and only because he interviewed, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, he interviewed Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, that was a good. Jimmy's brilliant.
Yeah, but also I feel that Jimmy made him accountable for what he's decided to do with the pod.
Mm.
And I think that was what was the confusion was for me. It changed from the CEO.
Yeah.
To a completely different style of podcast, and actually Jimmy calls him out on it. I don't know if you've listened to it yet.
I haven't listened to the full episode, so I don't know that piece. Yeah.
So he calls him out on it in a really nice way. But he's like, this is no longer a business podcast, and teases him actually about it. But it's really nice to hear someone confirm that it isn't.
Yeah.
Because it really isn't anymore. However, I am a great believer when you work for yourself, especially in small, medium-sized business, your work and your life are one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm really, really strict with myself about taking time off. I mean, we're just coming out of a bank holiday. I replied to people that emailed me on Friday night at 8 o'clock today. A lot of emails yesterday, bank holiday Monday, text messages. I had a text message Sunday night, and I'm like, I just don't reply to those anymore. I have to have some sort of boundary in my life. But I do get, completely, I like the fact that it crossed over, because we do look, I love what I do. So if I was in the mood, I would have answered. But I needed a break this weekend. It's a hectic couple of weeks. But yeah, for me, I think so I'm back in. I'm back in listening. He's actually 2 episodes back to back. Jimmy Carr, and then the guy that works for him, that does the talk on happiness. He's the next episode.
That was a brilliant episode, actually. Really, it's a long episode, but it's very good.
Yes. So did you listen to all of that one? The recent one? Yeah. Because I think that's the 3rd one he's done with Mo.
Yeah,
definitely the 2nd one. But I love him. So I was like, okay, I think he's got me back in.
Yeah, and I agree in that. It's because I think when we were reading the book, he got very polarized in his guests, and I was like, I don't like this anymore, because I was disagreeing with a lot of stuff they were saying, and I felt it was becoming very strategic in what he was investing in at the same time. And I could see that he was using the podcast to promote his investments in not an obvious way. Well, obvious to me, but you know what I mean? Like, not everybody would pick up on the fact that he's now talking about all these lifestyle things because this is what he's invested in, and he's just trying to promote that life. But I do, since he's gone back into like Jimmy and Mo, and even he had Johan Hari on there the other day talking about Ozempic. And like, Johan is a brilliant storyteller anyway. He's really, really good to listen to. He's done a couple of pods with Johan before, but he's gone down the whole...
I'm saying though. I think this is what he's doing is very strategic, because I think
Yeah.
he's looked at who the most popular pods were. He's pulling them back in and he's pulling them back in for a reason, because he's obviously testing, because he's now obviously brought out a pod platform.
Yeah. Or the thing that he said that he wasn't going to do. That was his failed plan.
But he has changed the way that he's done it. So he has created the space, I suppose, to invite people that he chooses to be podcast presenters for him.
Okay, I didn't know what his business model what it was. I only know what we read in the book that he had scrapped.
So in the book he was thinking about, starting the next Spotify or whatever. So he's done it very, very differently. What he's done is he's gone to their top 10 basically. So Davina McCall, I can't remember the guy's name now, Paul from Celebrities Dating. He's a relationship expert, and he's got those people. So they're on the CEO platform basically, but there's now 4 other presenters, but he's running it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So then he's like, who will be next? And I think, I'm sure if he could persuade Jimmy Carr to do a pod, Mo already has a pod. So and he's not one of those people, which really did surprise me. So now he's gone into that sort of platform. However, the one thing I would say about the whole thing now is I think he's going to have to be really, really careful, because going out twice a week, I'm finding that really overwhelming.
That's actually literally himself and Mo had a whole conversation on that, because Mo was challenging him as to like, what is success for you now, because I think he is teetering on the edge of burnout himself, because he mentioned in that podcast a lot that he's having these kind of moments of, why am I doing this? It's obviously overwhelming for him, because he is only one person. He has the same number of hours as we do, and he's very torn across. He's a lot of businesses he's running. I know you're laughing. I know he's a big team.
He's
but
a team of about 400 fucking, excuse me, but he's not. There's one thing he isn't. I tell you now, there's one thing he isn't. He is not bloody lonely in business. I'm telling you that right now.
I know, but he's splitting himself. He's very thin, you know what I mean? And Mo is saying to him, like, you are putting this pod out twice a week, does it still need to be twice a week? Yes, you did it to build it up and get the followers and get the consistency, but he's like, why are you still doing it twice a week? He was like, if you did this once a month and you had 12 podcasts a year, you would still have the followers and, the authority and everything else and the success that he has. So Mo is asking, why twice a week,
And I think he's right to ask as well, because a lot of what he preaches he certainly doesn't walk the walk.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. I think, and he's questioning himself on that now, as to like, with all his success, like there's no more money will make him happier, will make a difference to his life. Like, what is it now that he's striving for? And I think he's questioning that himself. So for me, then he has to come up with what his purpose is and what his new mission and vision is within that, because like, you don't, like, you have to clarify those things and put in metrics of it. If I achieve them, then this is the success, because otherwise it's just limitless and you're continuously going forever. You never feel like you've achieved anything, because you don't know what you're working towards. And I think he's in that space at the moment. That is a very interesting podcast if you did listen, but it's like 3 hours long. They're getting longer. They were an hour and a half.
Well, long form is much more popular now anyway. So I agree with what he's doing, but I think he strives so much to be the champion, the person that is relevant for people starting out in business. What he's actually created is he's so irrelevant now, because I can't resonate with him anymore. Like, who is his audience now? It's not where it started, without a doubt, because small business owners, small to medium-sized business that I work with all the time could listen to that pod. We could hear about his diary for the week. Actually, I was interviewing Jen McGinn last week, and she actually does a weekly newsletter about, starting out. She's starting up a new business, which is coming out in September. And I was like, okay, I'm on Jen McGinn's track. I keep calling her McGill. She's going to kill me. Because that's really relevant to me, and it's
Yeah.
really interesting. I don't, and I do think like Jimmy Carr's right. Change the name. Like it's not a diary of a CEO anymore. It really isn't.
No, it's like diary of a conglomerate owner, you know what I mean? Like it's
It was a health and wellness pod, and I like it. Like, I'm interested in all that stuff too, but it's not why I started listening to it. I think he strives so much to be successful. He's unreachable for me now. I think there's that thing of be aspirational, but not too far away that people can't see that they can achieve it.
yeah.
And he's just too big.
Yeah, his target market needs to change. He's moved much more into the wellness space. I can see he's brought out, is it, I want to call it, I think it's gyms. I saw something on his Instagram yesterday, urban something centers or something like that they're calling it.
Oh my God. Okay, this is so funny. He is a smart. If he
Yeah,
has gone into that. So he put up a post there a little while back about the best gym he'd ever been in, and his friend kept telling him to go into this gym. And he kept posting about it, how that it was a different, it was a different experience.
yeah.
And was that on CEO, the post?
Yeah, no, it was. I'm just going to try and look for it there now. It was basically, I think it's urban something. He put it up yesterday. I think it was a story. Yeah, it's all about basically he's after developing something else, but he's essentially gone into the wellness space. And that within Huel, I actually totally #influence. I bought 2 bottles of Huel yesterday, which I forgot that I got. So I need to have them tomorrow for my breakfast. To taste it because they're gluten free. So I'm like, okay, gluten free, high protein, tick box. He's calling it, okay, if you're a health, wellness or medical practitioner, check out our sites across London at until_community. It's not urban. We've 3 sites already, full state of the art equipment for massage rooms, dental rooms, therapy rooms, gyms, and so much more. So it's basically like end-to-end wellness facilities,
It's David Lloyd 1990.
Yeah, he's he's developing a lifestyle brand.
He
A
is,
wellness
because
brand.
like, listen, if he's obsessed with staying young. I find it. I never felt like that in my 30s.
He's had
Anyway,
Brian Johnston on before as well. He's obsessed with staying young. He's spending millions on all these protocols he's collecting data as well within it so that scientists can use it. But to stay young, it's a bit mental. But it's interesting. That's another interesting lesson.
interesting.
What were your key takeaways from the book? Like, what were your most impactful what was your most impactful law, do you think?
Oh God. Well, on a overall, I was like, what really I got from it is like, there's nothing new in that book.
Mm.
Then there really isn't, because that book is written by people that are a lot older than him.
It is. There's one that I think stuck out for me because like that, I listen to a lot of pods, read a lot of books, a lot of business. I work with a lot of older businessmen, you know what I mean? I'm typically the youngest person in the room, the only female in the room, that's why I like came into the club and was so happy to be part of the board in the club, because I need more women in rooms that I'm in because I'm always the only woman. And within me reading all of these books and dealing with all these older businessmen, nobody talks about health being your first foundation and a really important pillar. And I like that he brought that into it, and he talks, that's his law 9 in the self chapter, that health being your first priority, and that's the table that everything sits on. And if you neglect your health and you don't take care of yourself, it doesn't matter, because everything else will fall to shit. And it's nice seeing that in a business book, because it's not something that people talk about. It's the hustle culture, the grind, work yourself to the bone. We're all tired. What is burnout? I like that he talks about that in this book.
Yeah, but it's not new information.
It's not, but it's not mentioned in what you would consider business books.
Yeah.
And he's
But
selling this as a business
I don't
book.
consider this as a business book. And that's why it's not called the 33 Laws of Business.
It is 33 Laws of Business and Life.
life. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not. It's because it's written by a CEO. However, it's not written and it really isn't written by him. It's written. The information in there is everything he's learned from the people that he has interviewed. And the rules and the laws that they follow, he's put together. So he's learned. Look, can't think of a better way to learn. He speaks to people.
Yeah.
He takes that information. He's like a sponge. No, look, I enjoyed it. I would definitely lend it to people. I thought it was good.
It's like his pod is his equivalent of the best university education you could ever buy. I mean, if you go to university and you do an MBA, what are you doing? You're reading all these lads' books and you're learning something some man said before you, or well, like if you're lucky, it's a woman. And that's what he's done. He's brought in, instead of sitting there reading books, doing an MBA, he's learned from the best, and he's had them sit in front of him and, refine everything down, and he's asked them the questions to get the real, the good parts out of it. And that's what he has done. So he has learned from the best, and he's wrote a book to summarize all of that. The other takeaways for me from the book were, and look, none of it is new and stuff, but I do like the biggest ones resonated for me that I think are really important for people to take away is the don't be an ostrich. So have the difficult conversations and don't put your head in the sand and just challenge things as they come up. You must piss people off in life and business. And accept that and know that is part of it. And the outfailing the competition.
Oh yeah, but I think that's probably my favourite one because I love collecting no's. I'm all about it. I was having a conversation with a client this morning, actually, and she's like, oh, it's not the response that I wanted. And I was like, okay, how many emails have we sent? She sent like 12 emails. And I was like, but you haven't done what I asked you to do. I need you to send 100 emails by Friday. And then I need to discuss with you next week what response you get.
Yeah.
But she missed out the main piece, which is to send the numbers.
Yeah.
Without
It's a numbers game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything is. But yeah, no, I do like that, collecting the no's, failing. I'm very fortunate to have worked with the right people, and it was always about that, let people fail, Sean, because I used to hate seeing people fail and see their little disappointed faces. However, that's the only way we ever learn. So, I was more than prepared to fail myself, but never wanted anybody around me to fail. When I started letting others fail, my business has become much more successful because if we're all failing, we're all learning.
Yeah. Yeah, but, no, I do. I like that point. And it's something that I need to practice more myself, definitely. And I am. And because I'm such an overthinker, it's my bloody brain, and I'm always trying to analyze, the different things that can happen in different places. And now I have definitely changed my mindset into a experimental mindset, I was trying to make a big decision about something recently that it's like, oh, will I do X? And it's like, okay, I'm not going to, will I do X? I'm going to experiment with X for 6 months and see how it goes. And then at the end of the 6 months, I'll ask myself again, will I do X? Because you don't know until you try things,
Yeah. And 6 months is a long time. I mean, I'm a great believer, like for big project work, 3 months, I always test. So 21 days.
It depends on what it is, though.
Yeah, 21 days.
Yeah.
I had an intern actually recently, and I was like, I want to go out. I want you to post on this person's page every day at 6 p.m. And then a week later, she's like, should I change the time? And I'm like, no, stick with 6 p.m. A week later, should I change the time? No, 6 p.m. And I'm like, you don't get enough information in 7 days.
No.
So we need to go for the full month. Then we're going to change it. Then we're going to go 9 a.m. Then we're going to change it. Then we're going to go 1 p.m. And at the end of the 3 months, we'd be able to sit down and have a really good look at our stats and have a much better idea of what works best for that person. And I think that's really hard. I think as you're probably like myself, sometimes when we're working with businesses, we're like, they're there already. So as a consultant, you come in and then I send them, the proposition, but also in that proposition is, look, this will take 7 days to set up. This will take 20 days to set up. You can't just walk in and turn something around. You have to have a really good understanding of it.
Oh, and that's the most important part, is getting that vital information out of them, and they don't even know sometimes the smallest things that they're not telling you are actually really important. Like, we're proposing it for a project, it's 6 to 9 months long, and I got like 3 months of that will be sitting with the teams, collecting everything, figuring everything out, so that we can then make informed, and even at that, when we make decisions and suggestions of, okay, this is what we think needs to happen next, we will propose that to the teams and try and get them to break that decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all
Absolutely.
like, you have to do that. Yeah, it's because you need to come in, you need the fresh eyes and new ways of doing things, but and that's why you pay us, is because we will learn that quickly on our feet, and we know the questions to ask to be able to establish all that information very fast. There's a lot in it.
There is.
The controversial points about the book. For me, it was the blue slide, spending 10 grand of an investor's money on a blue slide and trying to pawn it off as a strategic move. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, me too.
I know you're going to say, I'm just saying it for you, the morbidity of him talking about debt and counting down how many days we have left.
Which brings me to the pissing the 20% of the people off, like, do you know what I mean? Because it's a strategy with him. That's become extremely apparent to me. But yeah, it's just, look, for me, I'm like, I can't wait. And actually, I think again, Jimmy Carr hit him with this, what do you want for your future self? Because I actually can't wait for him to be 50, and I can't wait for him to be talking about when he was doing all of this, because I just think it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's actually, and that's one other thing that he has on the book. So I was saying we should definitely broach on it. Where is it on the book? It's on the back cover. The very last sentence on the back cover is, these laws will work now or in 100 years from now. So that's a very bold statement to make.
Yeah.
On the cover of your book. So I wonder.
I kind of agree, because, like I say, he hasn't nothing in this book is new.
Yeah.
This is textbook stuff that people were saying to me when I was training as a manager, which is like 27 years ago. So nothing's new. So I agree, they will probably still be the same laws in 27 years' time as well. It's just the interpretation may be slightly different. When I say, like, I'd love to see, because again, he didn't write this book. This book was written by people much older than him that he's spoken to, and he's put the information into a book. Very good idea. But now when I say I'd love him to be looking back, I want him to be looking back at the way that he interpreted this book, because whether he likes it or not, a lot comes back to Stephen. I think this is a really good rule. In fact, I'm a genius because I put a blue slide in, and that was so what I was going to do. No, you weren't. You were just frivolous with people's money.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time when you're reading the book, and especially actually when you listen to the audio, it will come back to, I completely agree with this law, because this is, I did it without even realizing it, and I'm amazing. He is a bit like that.
He is, but he has to market it as well, though, I suppose. He's a really good marketer, and his whole thing is brand and marketing. So he's going to do that, because I think there is nothing new here, right?
No.
Like you said, but there's nothing new in general. Like, it's been the same stuff we've all been learning. If you've ever done management in college, like even part of my accountancy, I had to do like exams in management. And like business processes and the whole lot. It's been the same forever. It's the same tools. It's the same methodology. It's the same teachings. It's all based on like theories that were constructed by lads in the like 40s and the 30s. You know what I mean? There's nothing new. He has just distilled it down into 33 laws that are bite-sized, and I think very easily consumed by the everyday person now, rather than a big stupid management book, or an MBA. Not saying that it replaces an MBA, but you know what I mean? I think he has distilled it down, and he has story told within the book in a way that people can really understand, and it makes it very tangible. So I think it's very good like that. But
Yeah.
that's to be said for everything. I know, like, there's a lot of courses and programs and trainings out there, and we all do them because we think we're going to get something that we don't know, that piece of the puzzle, that puzzle that will tell us what. Oh, she has the secret now, that if I know what that is, that's going to transform my business. And that's typically not what happens. It's very rare that that would happen. But this book, I think if you read it, like, you're learning from the greats within it in a consumable way. I think that
Yeah, no,
helps.
absolutely. But it's an easy read. It is a nice, easy read. It's an easy audio
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. What else? And I think if you were to go, he's saying it would work for the next 100 years. If you were to go back 100 years, because past predicts the future, would it have worked 100 years ago if you abided by these laws? I think it definitely would.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, a lot of the people that made the map lived then.
Yeah. I know, because I'm reading another book at the moment that I'm going to end up divorced over it, I'd say, really. It's called Invisible Women.
Oh, I'm listening to it on audio.
Yeah, it's just all about how, like, the world was built by men for men, not in a way to exclude us, but because we weren't considered back then, when society was being constructed and the rules that we live by today and just the physical aspects of the world were being built. Women weren't in those rooms. So, and they would never have thought about it being, to work for us as well. It's very interesting. And a lot of these management theories and styles and ways of being were also originally constructed by men, managing men in the workplace back in the 50s and the 40s.
100%. Oh, look, we've had the conversation before, haven't we? There's certain people in this book that are referenced as being the best in their field, amazing. But if a woman had done what they'd done, we would have been absolute bitches, a nightmare to work with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
100%.
simple.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there still aren't enough women in the right rooms. And we're still not anywhere near where we should be.
No.
And something's got to happen.
And look, that's what we'll try to do within the club as well. But
Yeah.
I just, as I say, you to just keep forging forward and pushing on, trying to get into the right rooms and do the right thing. But because I know in, like, this kind, because I was asked recently, because I'm always very vocal about that. Like, a friend of mine has joined a board actually as well recently. And I asked him, I was like, how many people are on the board? He said 10. And I said, how many women are on the board? And he said 1. And I said, is she just the token woman so in the room, or what's her business acumen to bring to that board? And he said she doesn't have any business behind her. So I said, so she's just the tick box woman. And he understands the frustration behind it as well, because I'm sick of being in those meetings and in those leadership rooms being like one of the only women. But in the Scandinavian countries, they have a gender quota. I'm going to say 50%. I don't know if it's 50%, but they have to have 50% women on a board or in rooms like that. I don't agree with either, because I think the right people need to be in there. I think women need to be given more opportunities further back to get to that point.
I do like the quota idea, just to set things starting
in motion. Yes.
Because it does make sense, because it's what you do as you see. And if there is no women at the top, then you don't even realize there's a stepping stone to get there. So the way they put that quota in, I did think was quite clever, because it was just
very
like
high. That's their quota is quite high. So yes. I don't agree with it being that high. But I think quotas should only be a plaster on the situation while we fix the root cause of why women aren't getting there.
I was actually speaking to somebody about this actually the other week, and they were saying, but not only that, like in the workplace, it won't necessarily be like in the school and everything. It would be they were saying to me that one week it might be the grandmother that gets called if something's wrong with the sick. Next week it'd be the dad. The next week, like, because of this quota, their life becomes quite quoted.
Yeah.
So whereas 100% fact, it always falls back on the woman in this country.
Yeah, it does.
Definitely. So yeah, I need to understand, because I actually started reading a little bit more about it, because I am fascinated now by it. But yeah, whether it's just like, stick them right at the top. We have this quota, it's the law. That's what young girls see. Then they'll understand that there isn't a stop. you can keep going. But I don't know. I need to read more about it to see if that actually worked.
It's, you see, yeah, but it's playing into the look, you can have it all. And it's bullshit because you can't have it all. You can only have it all. Firstly, you can't have it all, the family and the big career and everything, unless you can have a lot if you have a lot of support behind you, and a lot,
Yes,
and
but
that being
if
with
you're,
family.
yeah, well, no, that's not that. I mean, I disagree with that because the women that I know that kind of look like they have it all, it's not with family. It's the fact that they earn so much money, they can afford to employ people to create that world for them. So
But
they
you
might
but you
have.
can't, you see, it's, you have to earn, you have to be, it's getting to the, now they earn so much money that they can afford to employ people, but getting to that point of,
Yeah,
there'll be
there were sacrifices that were made, and no doubt those sacrifices were time with their family.
yeah, but
But
it's
I
even
certainly
just
know them, and
having
I should.
people to take care of kids, is the childcare element of, because you can have, like, I did creche, was great and everything, but it's when kids are sick and there's something wrong and there's a board meeting, it's what happens there, and it oftentimes falls on the mother. Now at home we'll just juggle, and look, if it's a board meeting, I'm gone, and that's a red in my calendar. I cannot compromise on things like that, so my husband has to stay home.
Yeah.
But it's, if you have grandparents or family who will mind the kids and all of that, that's something that could, and when I say sick, I mean an ear infection, or
Yeah.
a tummy bug, not sick,
But I
like.
do think I mean, we're sidetracking a bit off the quota thing. I do think for me, being able to see somebody, like,
Yeah.
I often tell the story. Growing up in the UK, we had a female prime minister. Was she a nice person? Probably not. Did she do some awful things, horrendous things? However, as a young girl,
Yeah.
growing up in my when I was 7, 8 years of age, I did not know there was a limit to where I could go because a woman ran my country. So regardless of whether she was a nightmare or not, I knew a woman ran my country. I also knew a woman was the queen of my country.
Yeah.
So like that's a very different way to grow up. You just think women are in charge, obviously.
Yeah. That's great. That is great. And it's not just that it's all women at all, because it just needs to be more
Yeah.
balanced in a way.
However, in the last 7 years in the UK, the two women that took those stance probably set females back 30 years because they cocked up so badly. Do you know what I mean? And so then you're like, oh, that's frustrating. So I am doing a lot of work at the moment, speaking to younger girls about going into politics, and I've spoken about it at a couple of the events last week because I think it's super important. And actually, I'm loving hearing the conversations that are going on. I'm actually in a co-working space today, and I can hear someone talking to someone about becoming a TD, and I'm like, and it's two women having a conversation, and I'm like, oh my God, this really needs to happen for more people.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I say we get there. I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, to be honest. But I really
I know
hope it happens
it's
the next one.
it's a 50-year plan, it's just, it needs to keep progressing forward. And I 100% agree with what you're saying. You need to see it to be it.
Yeah.
And that box needs to be ticked as well. But I just don't want it to be well, we've done something now and that's it, because that's just a plaster, and the source and like the reason for women not being at that level needs to be
Yeah.
fixed much further back,
But you know what, though? Sometimes if you leave a plaster on your arm long enough, what's under the plaster starts to heal. And I think something has to happen, something a bit shocking, I think, has to happen. Like a quota or something. I kind of like that idea because it is shocking and it is like, oh, Jesus Christ, who are these people that are going to go in? They may not be the right people at the beginning.
At the
However,
beginning, yeah.
yeah. However, under the plaster, you might have some real amazing stuff growing.
I know, I understand what you mean. And then that creates the see it to be it.
Yeah.
And then if we have to fill those quotas, then we have to push more for education and support for women to get into those quotas. Otherwise, we have a big issue there.
Or we have to realise that education is pretty shit.
Yeah.
And that and nothing really happens when you just go to college and read things from a fucking textbook. Because like some of the stuff coming out of the unis, it's just not good enough.
No.
And I know that because I went back to uni last year. It's not good enough. It's behind the times. We need to look, we are living in a different time now. It's time that we need a different styles of learning. Look, oh God, I could honestly go off on a tangent here. So let's not do that.
I know, and I could go with you because I 100% agree.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think
outdated.
there's so outdated, and we live in a different world now with, and everything we can do with AI and everything else. We're very lucky. We've just got to grab it and run with it. It's an exciting time.
Well, I'm glad we did it. I'm so glad I did it with you, because I feel like I've got to know you so much more over the last couple of months doing this as well. It was lovely.
And you. And I was like, actually, because my sister was like, did you enjoy it? What was your favourite episode? So actually, my favourite episode was when I told Pam off for not taking a break. I said, we're taking to a coaching session, but we had great crack. But yeah, no, look, I'm exactly the same. I'm really glad we did it. And never say never. There's more books there. There's more conversations to be had. But for now, I think, I'm looking forward to a little break. And then, we can decide what we do later on. But I hope everybody enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making it.
Yeah, I did too. And we'd love to, especially now at the end, I'd love feedback on it, see what people thought. Was there anything else we would have done differently? What you enjoyed about it? That would be great to get that feedback.
Amazing. You're a star. Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody listening.
Bye. Music used for the opening and closing of this podcast is titled Pleasant Porridge by Kevin MacLeod. IncompeteTech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0. www.creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0.